Ladies and gentlemen, look at us. We're back. I knew we'd be back. So welcome back. Welcome back to Fear and Hopium, a not-so-current event conspiracy clarity show. The Dreaming of Fields podcast. Fear and Hopium. And I am your sexy host, the Ed the Sock of conspiracies, your true wizard, the 5th highest ranking Illuminati member. Currently, I am Chanel, carrying a cornucopia full of true. Now, there has been a slight production delay on Fear and Hopium because I promised you guys alien disclosure. So, of course, I had to delay the podcast for an extra week. So be sure to stay tuned until the very end of this here podcast so that you can receive your alien disclosure. Anywho, you want what you want, and you want it now. Well, I've got you. Your update on me. Personally. Well, I had a very important gig last week. I had to occupy and operate a clone of Katy Perry. Operating said clone of Katy Perry, I engaged in a very public performance, helping the Illuminati run a psyop on the general public. You know the one. Anywho. And also, as further punishment for that thing I'm not supposed to say on episode 23 of this here podcast, I was forced to engage in a team building type of exercise. I had to go on a 3-day camping trip with Lady Gaga. The goal of the Cloning Center peeps was to try to convince us that we actually like each other. So we tried, and I applaud her effort. And it was one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do. We even did some banging. And I still can't stand her. Oh well, I tried. It's fine. And the original goddess has decided that I should be making babies the same way Elon Musk is. So, we built a new building on my secret compound here in Mactier, Ontario. We are calling this building the Stable. And the Stable will become home to all of my breeder wives. Yeah, that's right. Breeder wives. So there will be a whole new secondary roster of beautiful, sexy women who will give birth to my babies. So the goddesses are writing up a list of potential baby mamas to occupy the stable and start getting preggers. Good times. And I will update you as we progress. Today's episode of Fear and Hopium has been brought to you by Blue Beam Chew. Our first ever return sponsor, Blue Beam Chew. Dudes, you know all about Viagra and Cialis and Blue Chew. But Blue Beam Chew is more sexy and more epic than all of those other competitors. Have you been drinking too much? Smoking too much? Uphill skiing a little too much? Are you nervous about your performance? Nervous about her kid being in the next room? Nervous about her husband coming home? Nervous about your wife or friends finding out? Is she ugly? Do you wish she was a dude? And are you, for any one of these reasons, or another one I didn't come up with, having trouble getting your little soldier to join the war? Well, Blue Beam Chew has you covered. Just open the little patch, chew those little bad boys up, and blammo! Your leaning tower is now an obelisk. Side effects may include dizziness, weight loss, weight gain, depression, bleeding from the bumhole, anxiety, being attracted to Lady Gaga, foot fungus, heart attacks, cancer, fibromyalgia, making donations towards disclosure, listening to Michael Obama's podcast, owning a framed picture of Carl Sagan, and so much more. Yeah, that's a lot. Like a lot. It's fine. So what are you waiting for? Sign up today and use promo code FNH at checkout to receive your very own poster of Chanel. Neat shit. So get your Blue Beam Chew today. It's good for your boner. Boing. And now, on with today's masterpiece. And for our first segment, we absolutely must discuss the halfway people. This is something different even for my most beautiful and savvy listener. But the halfway people are a subspecies of human who live at the bottom of Lake Superior in North America. They are humanoid and they live in the tunnels and caves at the bottom of the lake. Overlapping the imaginary lines between America and America's Hat, Lake Superior is the largest freshwater lake in the world. And this lake hides a terrifying secret. The halfway people. Okay. We're gonna have to jump in the Wayback Machine here and go all the way back to approximately 1000 after death. Around this time, some Vikings were stumbling out of Iceland and into North America. They did some exploring around Newfoundland, but some of the Vikings, they just wandered off, separating from the rest of the Vikings and heading westward into the new land. Eventually, they found Lake Superior, and they thought the coasts of Lake Superior were pretty kick-ass, and so they lingered. Now, at that time, that area was also populated by Native Americans, or what we call here America's Hat, the First Nation folks. And of course, many, like a lot, of these Native Americans were very magical. Now, these Native Americans, they saw the Vikings arrive and they were watching them from a distance, but once they interacted with them, the Vikings were super chill with them, and so the natives all figured, it's fine. So over time, what started as a really small Viking village started to grow into a bigger Viking village. Viking village. That's not easy to say. And for a few years, everybody got along and it was fine. Things were good. But then along came a terrible winter. This winter was so bad that the Vikings couldn't find no food and they started to starve, which led to some of them dying, which led to the rest of them having to make a very difficult decision. Shall they die or shall they eat some of their own people? They chose to live. And so they started eating their dead, which allowed the majority of them to survive through the long, terrible winter. But once all the ice had melted and they could go back to the hunting and the fishing, they realized that they were all very depressed. Like the sadness was going to overtake them as if it were the return of the Great Flood. Bewildered, perplexed, confused, and very puzzled, for a while, this group of Vikings found magic mushrooms, and they started to eat them. They tripped balls, but they had no idea what was happening to them. Anywho, during one of his mushroom trips, one of these Vikings heard a voice in here. And that voice said, "You're sad because you want to eat Brian." So that Viking killed Brian, and then he started to eat him. All of the rest of the Vikings saw him eating Brian, and instinctively just jumped right in and started eating Brian also. And they all ate Brian. The next morning, when the Vikings woke up, everybody was happy again. And suddenly, they knew the true. Eating Brian made them happy. So, Ben killed Todd, and they all ate Todd. And from that day forward, their entire diet consisted of fish, magic mushrooms, and human flesh. And everyone was happy, except the nearby tribe of native folks. This nearby tribe was all like, I hate Peter Pan. Oops. I hate cannibals. Whoop up? Oh, I know a lot of them did too. Like a lot. But not this particular tribe. They didn't like it. Not one bit. So late one night, a shaman from the native folks snuck into the Viking village, and he put a curse on them. He said, well, something in his native tongue, which I won't try to repeat because y'all will call me racist. But whatever he said translates into English as, you are what you eat. And so the next morning when the Vikings all woke up, they had magically transformed into something half human and half fish. And they had mushrooms growing in here. Their skin was all like a bluish white. Their arms and legs were still shaped like humans, but they were all covered in scales, like a fish. Their hands and feet were kind of like deformed flippers. Long, skinny, webbed fingers and flat flipper feet. They still had human faces, but their faces were all wrong. Like Mick Jagger lips with Steve Buscemi eyes. Teeth like little needles all spread apart. And they had gills. The worst part, the sun was burning them like they were vampires or some shit. And so this group of halfway people went down into Lake Superior, all the way down to the bottom of the lake. They found caves and tunnels, and they moved into these caves and tunnels, where they still live to this day. Now and forever known as the halfway people. The mushrooms that grow in here mean that they're tripping balls like all the time. And they still eat fish, and they still eat people. Scary. So scary. So stay the fuck out of Lake Superior, people. But if you are going to go near the lake, here's some warning signs to look for. If you see patches of algae sitting on the surface but spinning around like this, stay away. If you deep dive in the lake, stay out of the caves and tunnels. But if you ignore that and you do go in the caves and tunnels, and you start to hear a clicking sound, get the fuck out of there. The halfway people, they don't see so good, and so they have to rely on echolocation. So that's why they make them clicking noises. So get the fuck out of there. So, children, please, just stay away from them. Stay away from Lake Superior, stay out of the water, and avoid the halfway people. Because they eat people. And they are very, very scary. And they're more scared of you than you will be of them. Fuck. But I hope this brings some clarity to the subject of the halfway people for you. And for our next segment, we will simply explore the topic of Chicago. No. Not the city, the band. Chicago. Chicago is an American band formed in the city of Chicago, Illinois. Aptly described as a rock band with horns, their many masterpieces contain elements of classical music, jazz, R&B, rock and roll, and pop rock music, growing out of and evolving beyond several other bands performing in the Chicago area during the 1960s. The original lineup of Peter Cetera on bass, Terry Conn on guitar, Robert Lamb on keyboards, Lee Lonen on trumpet, James Pankow on the trombone, Walter Parazator on woodwinds, and Danny Sapphire on drugs. Epic. Over time, there were some changes to the lineup. One member died and got replaced by an even more talented person. Another member would outgrow the band and strike out on his own, only to be replaced by a less talented person, and a variety of other less significant changes happened to the lineup over time as well. Billboard has ranked Chicago as 9th on their list of 100 greatest rock bands of all time, with hits like If You Leave Me Now, 25 or 6 or 4, Hard Habit to Break, Hard to Say I'm Sorry, I'm Just Very Hard, It's Hard, So Hard, Heart's in Trouble, and of course the mega hit, You're the Inspiration. Somewhere between a hymn and an anthem, You're the Inspiration is a tale of gratitude, delivered to someone who has greatly and profoundly enhanced and transformed your life by inspiring a man to rise above his shadow, to become the true king he was always meant to be. Peter Cetera's unique, hypnotizing, and powerful voice blends in harmony with the nearly perfect ensemble performance of the band to craft one of the most magical ballads of all time. Epic. But there is a dark side to this band, a hidden secret, and I am gonna tell you. Chicago truly became famous due to performing at secret meetings in underground Illuminati cities beneath Chicago. They are an Illuminati-created and supported band, created specifically by the cults that own Coca-Cola. That's why their band logo looks like that. Yeah, that's right. Their occult education assists them in crafting all of these major hits, all of these modern hymns, all of these love-soaked anthems, which will go on to inspire future generations for eternity. Epic and sexy. So if you, my beautiful and savvy listener, are not familiar with this epic and sexy rock and roll band with horns and wind, do yourself a favor and check them out. You will become more savvy. And I'll promise you this, you will become inspired to once again search for and find true love once again. And to wear very tight jeans. Sexy. Epic. And I hope this brings some clarity to the legend of Chicago. No, not the city, the band. Chicago for you. And now, my beautiful friends, my savvy listeners, it's time for your hopium. It's time for your hopium. It's time for your hopium. And for your dose of hopium today, Chanel will break down for you the topic of fairies. The myths and legends about fairies do not have a singular origin. The title of fairies has been applied to specific magical creatures with a human-like appearance, little beings with magical powers, and a love for trickery. But sometimes the word fairy gets used to describe any tiny little magical creature, such as gnomes or goblins. And sometimes the word fairy is used as an adjective, with a meaning equivalent to enchanted or magical. Names. Anywho, a fairy is also called Fae, F-A-Y, Fae, F-A-E, Fae folk, Fae, F-E-Y, fair folk, or simply fairy. A common belief about fairies actually informs us of our need to stay away from them and keep them away from us. Because they're tricksy. And we're supposed to use protective charms to keep them away. Charms such as church bells, four-leafed clovers, food they don't like, or wearing your clothes inside out. Some folks believe that the fairies occupy certain places, and when humans go wandering around in those places, the fairies like to tell them the wrong way to go as to help them get lost while they're wandering. Tricksy. Some folks even blame the fairies for sicknesses, such as tuberculosis or birth defects. Well, that's not so sexy, is it, Bob? Okay. Allow Chanel to break this down for you and make it sexy. Fairies are elemental spirits. Elemental spirits are small fractals of the consciousness of Mother Earth herself. They are technically tiny little orbs or balls of light that project into the consciousness of those who observe them the image of tiny little sexy humans. They are the guardians of nature, and they assist Mother Earth in the evolution of species. They are magical, like really fucking epic, and sexy. They're also very, very sneaky, like a dancing frog cartoon. If you see one and try to tell your friends about it, they'll hide from you when you bring your friends back, causing your friends to think that you're just making shit up like some internet super soldier. Or, when you catch a glimpse of them out of the corner of your eye, they will run away real fast and hide when you turn to look at them. Sneaky and epic. Well, my beautiful friends, my savvy listeners, I am here today to share with you some sad news. And some good news. The sad news is the population of fairies on Earth has dramatically dwindled. Because people don't be believing in the fairies so much no mo. No, not no mo. And anytime someone says they don't believe in a fairy dies. But the good news is the Illuminati has a plan to help bring back and repopulate the fairies. And that plan is 15-minute cities. The fairies need lots of wide open nature areas in order to thrive. So, the Illuminati plans to move all of the people into these 15-minute cities to give all the fairies a lot more room to thrive, which will provide the fairies with the space and time required to rebuild their civilization. Neat shit. Sexy. Not only will we be providing the fairies with lots of extra open space to wander around because we're all living in the 15-minute cities, but the Illuminati also plans to hijack our minds once a day, using CERN, of course, to make us clap our hands every day at 2:22 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Because clapping our hands brings the fairies back to life. They were training us during COVID with all the clapping and the dancing nurses and stuff. Normalization. Bob has some fairies that just kind of follow him around for some reason. And Elon Muskie is a fairy, so there's that. Anywho, I hope this brings some clarity to the subject of fairies for you. Bob, I know for a fact that Ariani told you to stop wearing her t-shirts, but I'm pretty sure that rule extended to all of her clothes as well, including her sports bras. Maybe just stay out of her clothes, dude. It's time! It's time for fan questions. Our first question comes from Mary Morgan in Virginia. Mary asks, is space real? Nope. But for more true on that, you're gonna have to wait for a future episode of this here podcast. Our second question comes from Gregory Sexy Tits in Nebraska. Gregory asks, I'm a big fan of Bob, and I was wondering, when did you two meet? Well, I met Bob in 1985. He had wandered up to Niagara Falls from Florida. The Illuminati found him wandering around and knew they couldn't have that. So they gave Bob a home in a dome underneath Marineland. And that's where we met. And our final cue comes from You Know Who the Fuck I Am in Milan, Italy. And said person asks, I know what you did. I know all about the clone of me you had made, and all about how you added light codes to the DNA to make it so that your clone of me won't age past 36. My only question is, what the fuck? Bob, this is Monica again. Yeah, Belusi, that Monica. Screen the fucking questions. Don't make me talk to your Uncle Paul again. Anywho, if you would like to send cues that will receive A's from moi, please send them to this email address. Thank you. Well, my sexy friends, my epic listeners, oops, I did it again. I brought the true, and you don't like it. Oh well. I fed drugs to your delusions. I made your nipples hard. I tickled your funny bone. And you're welcome. I feel like I'm forgetting to tell you something. What, Bob? No, it's definitely not that. Definitely not that. I can't recall, though. Oh well, it's fine. I'll see you next Tuesday during my appearance on the Call Me Daddy podcast, where I will be debating Lady Gaga on the topic of adrenochrome. Yeah, that's right. And remember, friends, Jesus died to teach us a very important lesson. Loose lips sinks ships. He should have just said he was a super special person who just channels extraterrestrials. Telling people he was the son of God was a step too far. So remember to like this video, subscribe to this channel, share this show with everyone you know, and you can call me an alligator because I'll see you later.